Good evening, everyone, and I would like to call the City Council Committee of the Whole meeting for Wednesday, April 17th, 2019 to order. At this time, for our moment of silence, I want to again recognize, and we'll recognize them some more, our Kaiserslautern delegation. I've had really the honor over the last few days not only to spend quite a bit of time with them, but also equally I've had time to be at the Hispanic Chamber Gala, had time to be at the Holy Days, one of the Holy Day celebrations for the Sikh community at their temple, and to be at the Presbyterian Church for a ceremony in the morning. You know, it's really great when we think about bringing all people together and sharing ideas, sharing not only that, but understanding that it's all about our families, providing for our families, and finding ways that we can all come together. So with that, let's take a moment of silence, please. Thank you very much. Alderman Kluhl, would you lead us in a Pledge of Allegiance? Thank you, Alderman Kluhl. Brian, would you call the roll, please?
Ambrose.
Here.
Condon.
Here.
Rawson.
Here.
Dickman.
Here.
Tompkins.
Here.
Grip.
Here.
McGinnis.
Here.
Kluhl.
Here.
Mattson.
Here.
Dunn.
Here.
10 present, Your Honor.
Thank you, Brian. And again, a good evening to everyone. And as we begin our meeting of the City Council, I would again like to welcome all of those in attendance and also those who are viewing the meeting on television or on the internet. We respectfully welcome your comments and opinions, and please keep in mind that as you talk to the council, you're also sharing your thoughts with fellow Davenporters and with viewers throughout the region by way of our TV broadcast. We are happy that you're participating in your city government and ask that your participation reflect the common desire we all share to make Davenport an even greater place for all of our citizens. For the children, adults, seniors, and families in our community, those in attendance and those watching at home, I thank you for joining us. At this time, we ask that you turn off or silence your cell phones or other electronic handheld devices, as they can be disruptive and interfere with the audio system here in the chamber. If you wish to address the council on a specific item that appears on a committee agenda, you are encouraged to do so during that standing committee. You will also have an opportunity to address the City Council under Public with Business portion of the meeting, which will occur toward the end. When addressing the council, I ask that you step to the podium, wait to be recognized by myself or the committee chair, and speak to the council as a body and not to any single member. We ask that you limit your remarks to no more than 5 minutes, and I ask that everyone observe, and I know you all will, the commonly accepted rules of courtesy, decorum, dignity, and good taste. So thank you very much, and is there a city administrator update this evening?
Just one item, Your Honor. This, in recognition of Good Friday, city offices will be closed this Friday, April 19th.
Thank you very much, Brandon. We have two public hearings this evening, one for community development, and Alderman Rawson will lead that public hearing.
Thank you, Your Honor. I open the public hearing for ordinance for case ORD 19-01, being the request of the City of Davenport to amend various sections of Title 17 of the Davenport City Code entitled Zoning by correcting scrivener errors and amending certain dimensional standards. Is there anyone from the public that would like to comment on this during this public hearing? Seeing and hearing no one, I close the public hearing.
Second.
There's been a motion and a second. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed, same sign. And that public hearing is closed, Your Honor.
Thank you, Alderman Rawson. We have our second public hearing is under Public Works, and Alderman Dunn, as chair, will lead that public hearing.
Thank you, Your Honor. Open the public hearing on the plan, specifications, form of contract, and estimated cost for the West 46th Street reconstruction project from North Pine Street to 215 feet east on Cheyenne Avenue. Is there anyone from the public wishing to address this public hearing? Seeing none, I move to close the public hearing.
Second.
We have a motion and second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed, same sign. Public hearing is closed. Back to you, Your Honor.
Thank you, Alderman Dunn. We have three proclamations for tonight's meeting. Our first is our Kaiserslautern Week proclamation, and Alderman Rawson, as our one of our leaders in our Sister Cities program will make that proclamation.
Thank you, Your Honor. Make sure it be heard. Proclamation. Whereas, in order to facilitate and maintain world peace, cities, their elected officials, and their citizens collaborate internationally through organizations such as Sister Cities International to create more community-led global relationships so people of different cultures can appreciate their differences and build partnerships. And whereas Sister Cities International, founded by President Dwight D. Eisenhower in 1956, has now grown to include 550 U.S. member cities, counties, and states with relationships spanning 6 continents in 145 countries with over 2,100 communities around the world. And whereas Kaiserslautern, Germany, which hosts the largest American military community in the world outside the U.S., and the city of Davenport, Iowa, through this common military history, became sister cities on June 10, 1960, making Kaiserslautern, Germany, Davenport's first sister city. Whereas this remarkable relationship, the oldest in Iowa and one of the oldest in the nation, has enjoyed nearly 6 decades of economic, cultural, municipal, military, humanitarian, and educational exchange programs, such as the historic Kaiserslautern Youth Exchange, that are mutually beneficial to each community. And whereas Kaiserslautern, Germany delegates are visiting Davenport, Iowa from April 11th to April 17th to expand on international best practices, to explore professional exchange with city services, to collaborate on youth and family programming, and to promote shared cultural activities. Now, therefore, we, Mayor Frank Klipsch and the Davenport City Council, do hereby proclaim the week of April 11th through April 17th as Willkommen Kaiserslautern Week in the city of Davenport to celebrate our continued sister-city relationship and commitment to supporting a more peaceful and prosperous future through people-to-people exchange. Dated the 17th day of April, 2019, I move the proclamation.
It has been moved and seconded. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Alderman Russin, if you would please make
Yes, so what I'm going to do is we also have our 2 teachers that are also from Kaiserslautern here with us this evening, Matthias Thomas Kraus and Simone Schumacher. I'll have you come up as well for the photo in a few minutes, okay? Spending the week with you.
It was wonderful, outstanding.
Here's our proclamation from us to you. Take back to City Hall.
Sure.
All right.
Thank you.
And I believe the president of Sister Cities, Rachel Mullins, has a few words, followed by Dr. Christoph Dahmen. I'll leave this here for you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having us. My name is Rachel Mullins Steiner. Thank you. And I'm the current president of Davenport Sister Cities. It has just been a tremendous week. We're so thrilled to have our delegates here with us. And among the many visits that we've had, many that you've participated in and many in the audience have participated in over the past week, we kept hearing a common refrain around this connection with our German sister city. With such a long heritage between the military exchange and military community there, the youth exchange, and our strong German heritage here in Davenport. It's just been a remarkable experience, and I think our delegates have reflected on that as well, that it really felt like coming home here in Davenport. We have had a tremendous experience, and it's really been a manifestation of the purpose of Sister Cities relationships, from our youth exploring their first experiences working with another culture and collaborating and working through communication barriers together around a common purpose, for our German American Heritage Center partners and the many members that they hold and exploring this German heritage together, the city visits and exploring best practices. It's just been an extraordinary opportunity, and we thank you all for your support and your vision for this program. Thank you. And I'll introduce Dr. Christoph Dahmen.
Thank you very much. Esteemed Mayor Klipsch, esteemed aldermen, esteemed members of the City Council, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, I want to express very warm greetings from our mayor, Klaus Weichel, who is looking forward so much to celebrating the 60th anniversary of our splendid partnership in next year, 2020. It's a great honor for me to represent the city of Kaiserslautern on this occasion, and I also want to express our deep gratitude in the name of my wife, as well as the students, the 11 students and the 2 teachers, for having this outstanding opportunity. I must say that I have already been involved on 2 other occasions in sister city business, but I never experienced such a strong commission and such a outstanding preparation. In the last 6 days, we had the opportunity to have 30 meetings and visits, and I'm not counting in this number the lunches and the splendid dinners that we had. And somehow I have the feeling that now I know in some terms Davenport even better than Kaiserslautern, because you gave me so many opportunities of deep insights in the great work you and all of you do here in Davenport. I was not only impressed by the project that I could experience, but also by the immense dedication of so many people involved in service for your society, be it teachers, engineers, city employees, the Waste Commission workers, firefighters, gardeners, and many more. And I will carry home not only many new impressions, but a big bunch of ideas, be it implementation of virtual reality in our museum with some special interaction, or offering Parkopoly game to children, do improvements for handicapped people, or better regional cooperation in terms of tourism, strengthen of students exchange, or finding appropriate mixtures of people and of functions for a better development of a city. So the sister city relationship does not only mean exchange of experiences and know-how through personal contacts of friends. It is about broaden minds and horizons. And I'm very happy to tell you that my wife already has decided that we will soon come back just on holiday. And we are so much looking forward to welcome you, most of you, next time in Kaiserslautern and meeting you again in deep friendship here in Davenport. Thank you so much.
And can I have our 2 teachers come forward as well? So we have some special gifts for our folks. And this is for Dr. Dahman and his lovely wife, Raimunda. And for our teachers, this is for Simona Schumacher and Matthias Crouch. Thank you. Thank you all for coming. We have some wonderful books that celebrate our river, which you experience probably more of than you ever thought you would, and some wonderful local history books. So thank you so much.
We have been exchanging also some informal gifts, but I want to give one last to you, dear Frank. This is a contemporary photo portrait of the city of Kaiserslautern of a friend of us who is a quite known photographer in not only in Kaiserslautern but in Germany. So take this as some advertisement and publicity to come to our town.
Oh, great. Thank you all very much. And it's interesting having my name pronounced by a German in German. It was really great. So I appreciate it. No, that was great. Alderman Ambrose, did you have something you want to mention there?
Thank you, Honor. First off, I want to thank Rachel and her sister for their leadership. You know, none of this could happen without you and Rita's commitment. And when you go back to Kaiserslautern, remember one thing. Tell the people that you were fortunate to be in America's greatest city, Davenport, Iowa.
Thank you, Alderman Ambrose. And Alderman Mattson.
Thank you, Your Honor. I just want to say thanks also to coming. Many years ago, I was in Germany with the military, and we jumped into Hohenfels and Grafenwehr, so I have German jump wings. So I never thought I'd experience folks coming back to my home city here and talking about a sister cities relationship. So thank you to Rachel and everyone that's part of this. This is a great thing, and I wish you safe travels back. Thank you very much.
Thank you all very much. And again, our next, we have another proclamation this evening, and Alderman Tompkins is going to present that proclamation. It's our Fair Housing Month proclamation. Alderman Tompkins.
Thank you, Your Honor. Read the proclamation. Whereas April 2019 marks the 51st anniversary of the passage of the Fair Housing Act in 1968, and as such, we should take stock not only of how far we have come in the last 50 years, but more importantly, what remains uncompleted in achieving the goal of complete freedom of housing choice for all persons in our country. And whereas the effects of past housing discrimination linger in cities around the United States and continue to create barriers, and whereas it is critical for community members and leaders at all levels to ensure barriers to safe and affordable housing do not exist, and whereas it is the American dream to build a better life in the home of each person's choice, regardless of race, color, religion, creed, sex, national origin or ancestry, marital status, age, mental or physical disability, gender identity, familial status, or sexual orientation. Let us support all who struggle and strive to achieve this dream. Now, therefore, we, Mayor Frank Klipsch, and the Davenport City Council do hereby proclaim the month of April 2019 as Fair Housing Month 2019 in the city of Davenport, and call on all residents to continue in their support of this effort and to recognize the importance of home ownership and equal housing within our community, dated the 17th day of April 2019. I move this proclamation.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Thank you. And I think Alderman Tompkins, you are going to present.
Yes.
If there's someone to receive that tonight.
I will come down and present this. Thank you.
Just a second here. I dropped the paper. Thank you. Thank you for, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you for the proclamation. It is important that we recognize the importance of Fair Housing Month and the sacrifices that Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. made, and those who stood behind him also made. I am honored that I get to serve in a role to enforce the law that his sacrifices made possible. I would like to clarify some things for the mayor, council, but most importantly for members of the community. The commission has repeatedly and in good faith attempted to resolve the questions surrounding the appointment process. However, those requests for resolutions were either ignored or denied. The mayor and council have distributed a letter which lists various conclusionary statements about commission members' participations in illegal activities. This was done without proper investigation or authority, and certainly not conducted by an impartial investigator. The mayor and council would not be the authority to decide if violations have occurred, and to distribute a letter like the one that they have is said the least very concerning. I understand the need for a separation of duties as a commissioner because one of the roles is to act as a neutral decision maker after staff has conducted investigations and a public hearing is conducted before an impartial decision maker. For the council to sign off on a letter conveying support for various allegations of misconduct and the offering a hearing before it is the very definition of bias. Further, it seems to indicate the council has engaged in an open meeting violation because obviously there must have been some conversations had about the validity of the allegations and each member's intent to sign off on the letter. When I, as a commissioner, sign a letter, I review the facts and evidence that I have before me and make a decision according to the law. It does not appear that any of that was done in this instance. As the commission has repeatedly pointed out, there is a provision within the ordinance that reasonable people could disagree on its meaning. Though we believe that the plain language is clear, however, as we members of commission understand the value of neutrality, we were willing to engage in conversation about the statutory construction of the ordinance, as we were even willing to concede that the mayor and the council's precipitation of his authority were due to the ambiguities or the obscurities within the ordinance, such that reasonable minds may disagree or be unconcerned as to their meaning. Rather than engaging in dialogue on this issue, the mayor and council decided to remove 4 members from the commission because of their adherence to their duty as independent commission members. This latest action has done nothing to address the initial dispute regarding the 3 people who the mayor attempted to appoint to positions that were not vacant. The law is very clear that any appointment need to be duly appointed and qualified. The attempted appointments were neither duly appointed because the appointments did not occur in compliance with the law or qualified because they failed to take an oath of office. Therefore, that dispute still needs to be resolved, and now you have created a second dispute. We will not fade away, and you will not intimidate us from speaking up and doing the job that we are tasked with. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Oops.
We have one more proclamation this evening and on Community Development Block Grant Week proclamation, and Alderman Condon is going to read and present that proclamation.
Thank you, Mayor. Proclamation. Whereas the week of April 22nd through the 26th of 2019 has been designated National Community Development Week by the National Community Development Association to celebrate the Community Development Block Grant, or CDBG, program and the Home Investment Partnerships, or HOME program. And whereas the CDBG program provides an annual funding and flexibility to local communities to provide decent, safe, and affordable housing, a suitable living environment, and economic opportunities to working families. And whereas the Home Investment Partnerships, or HOME program, provides funding to local communities to create decent, safe, affordable housing opportunities. And whereas the City of Davenport recognizes that the CDBG and home-funded programs and projects are successful because of the partnerships and collaboration with residents, businesses, and community organizations. And whereas for the year ending June 30th, 2018, over 1,200 Davenport residents received services provided by community organizations and funded in part with CDBG funds. 42 affordable households were assisted, 12 small businesses received loans, and the city and its community partners leveraged $4.50 for every $1 invested CDBG and home funds. Now, therefore, we, Frank Klipsch, Mayor of the City of Davenport, Iowa, in support, Mayor and the City Council of Davenport, Iowa, in support of these 2 valuable programs that have made tremendous contributions to the viability of the housing stock public services, and economic viability of our community, designate the week of April 22nd through the 26th, 2019 as National Community Development Week, and urge Congress and the administration to recognize the outstanding work being done locally and nationally by the Community Development Block Grant Program and the Home Investment Partnerships Program by supporting increased funding for both in federal fiscal years 2019 and 2020. Dated the 17th day of April 2019. I move the proclamation.
There's a motion and a second. All in favor say aye. Any opposed, same sign. Thank you. And Alderman Condon, if you would make that presentation.
I just have a couple of quick comments. Thank you all. There's some Citizens Advisory Commission members, committee members here in the audience. I think Chris Miller and Dale, right? Dale Gilmore, and one of my staff members too. Thank you so much for this. There's just a lot of work that goes on. The CDBG week, Home Weeks, Community Development Week next week is really just a chance to kind of highlight all the great things that the federal funds do in the community. So I think the highlight of next week for us is going to be a little bus tour. And so we'll be looking at a few projects and how we've spent the money here in the last year. And so, again, thanks a lot for all the funding.
Thank you, Bruce. Our next item, there's petitions and communication from the council and myself. We're going to open up. Alderman McGinnis is our director, chair of our community engagement program.
Thank you, Your Honor. Just a couple of things coming up this week. Punch, People Uniting Neighborhoods and Churches, will hold its Easter egg hunt Saturday, April 20th, 11:30 a.m. to 1 p.m. at Cork Hill Park at 11th and Farnham. Prize, games, food, a bounce house, free lunch. You could ask for more. So if you want to have some fun with your family, please go to the Easter egg hunt on Saturday. Next up, River Action's annual Fish and Fire Fundraiser, and I'm not going to say that fast 3 times, will be Friday, April 26th. The event also features the annual Eddy Awards, acknowledging those who act as an eddy or going against the current to accomplish excellence on the Mississippi River in such areas as art, revitalization, education, and stewardship. River Action does a lot for our Mississippi riverfront in protecting it and teaching people about how to treasure it. So it's a great organization. I hope you can support it. And for tickets, you can visit www.riveraction.org. And then finally, congratulations to 2 West High School robotics teams advancing to the World Championships April 24th to 27th in Detroit after they had outstanding performances as a recent regional competition. Team Mortal Kombats is one of the teams moving forward that won special recognition. The other team is Disruptive Innovation, and they received the Chairman's Award. It's the most prestigious award honoring the team that best represents the model for other teams to emulate. So they'll be competing in different categories in Detroit, and so they could both win. So congratulations and good luck to both of these great teams. Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you, Alderman McGinnis. Alderman Klool.
Thank you, Mayor. As the council's representative to the Putnam Board of Directors, I just wanted to provide a brief update on what's going on with hiring our new director. I think as most of you know, Kim Finley is going to be retiring in June, and our search committee has been working with a search firm to look at candidates. We've looked at the search committee has reviewed and interviewed 2 people to date. We have one more person on Friday, after which we will be allowing those people to talk to the board and then making a decision on our next director for the Putnam Museum. Had 175 applicants, of which we've narrowed it down to 3, and the 2 that we've reviewed so far are excellent. I'm sure that the interviewee on Friday is going to be great as well. So that's where we're at on that. And while I'm at it, I just want to put a plug in for the Race Are We So Different exhibit that's currently at the Putnam. One of the great things about the exhibit is it's not only an exhibit, but we've tried to incorporate the community into this thing. So we've held discussion groups with community members, and we've had folks like Butterworth Center, Vera French, Family Resources, St. Ambrose, and others come in small groups, and we've talked to them, and Councilwoman Dickman and myself have been part of that discussion lead group, and it's been a very rewarding experience, I know, for us, and hopefully for those who have participated as well. So good things going on at the Putnam, and that's my report for tonight.
Thank you, Alderman Clune. Thank you for your role not only as alderman, but also in being our representative on the Putnam Board. That's important. They're a good partner of ours, and it's good to have an ongoing relationship and representation. So thank you very much. Alderman Mattson.
Thank you, Your Honor. Constituents have reached out to me, and in lieu of some of the folks that are here tonight, Mayor, I'd ask as we move forward with the civil rights and your appointees that we do that as advance as much as possible and open and transparent as we do, so we fully vet and talk about those, so we make sure we're open and discuss fully with those appointees that you recommend. So I'd ask for that consideration. Thank you.
You will all obviously receive those in advance, and that's my plan before those come forward. Alderman Ambrose.
Thank you, Honor. You know, listen to all the events you attend daily. It shows your great love for our city, and you know, Davenport's very fortunate to have you as our mayor, and you know, when your term is up, there's going to be some very big shoes to fill, and thank you for everything you do for our city.
Thank you, Alderman Ambrose. One last thing that I just want to report. Last week, you know, many of us were frustrated with, which we thought was the concern with the Canadian Pacific Railroad and their lack of communication related to the railroad tracks and so forth. They did hear our concerns, and last week sent a delegation, 2 from Canada, 4 of them from parts around the United States and Canada that deal with this issues on a regular basis. We were very encouraged. One of the concerns we had was the ability to just contact them, and now we all have personal cell phone numbers and way to get a hold of them, first of all. Secondly, commitments to obviously ongoing communication, not only with what's being done now, the short-term remedies and long-term plans, as well as commitments financially on some of other bridges that are part of our city, and we'll talk more about that in the future. But I think we're hoping, obviously I see Jackie Holm, the general manager of the River Bandits, here this evening. You know, we're hoping and working with them as quickly as possible to get it open for the ballpark. That's an important part of our community. They're working very hard right now doing the temporary repairs that they're needed. So we're encouraged by the feedback that we received from them, the communication that we received, and of course we'll keep the community open and community informed, and also have an opportunity to be at that first game and a lot more that we've missed so far at Modern Woodman Park. So thank you with all that. We're going to move on to action items now for discussion. Our first area to be discussed is community development. Alderman Rawson will lead that discussion, and Alderman Ambrose will set the agenda.
Thank you, Your Honor. We have a whopping 2 items on the agenda this evening for community development. First item is a first consideration ordinance for case ORD 19-01, being the request of the City of Davenport to amend various sections of Title 17 of the Davenport City Code, entitled Zoning, by correcting scrivener errors and amending certain dimensional standards. Can someone from staff just come up and do a quick, brief run-through of what that entails exactly? Thank you, Matt.
Matt Flynn, Community Planning and Economic Development. You can see I didn't bring any notes up, so as far as going through the list, I might have be able to point out a few, I'll say, highlights. But if you recall, when we adopted the new zoning ordinance, we talked about doing periodic reviews, and we had determined that it would be a good timing to do one 3 months after the initial adoption, 6 months, and then 1 year. This first batch are largely, I'll say, little things that we noticed that either didn't read correctly, wasn't the intent. That's kind of the idea behind a scrivener's error. I'd say one of the more significant ones was the suggestion that in our C3 zoning district, we raise the maximum height from 45 feet to 55 feet, or in the case of a mixed-use building, 70 feet. We've had some hotels propose that
are in the 4-story range that even at 45 feet is pushing that. So that's probably one of the highlights. And if you'd like a little bit more detail, we can provide that at a later time.
Thank you, Matt.
Madam Chair, may I ask one quick
Yes,
question?
go ahead.
I think many of us, what's a scrivener here?
Well, I think that's an old legal term. Basically, probably, is it Latin, corporate counsel?
It's a fancy way of saying basically a typo.
Oops. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, Matt. Is there anyone from the public that would like to comment on this item? Anyone from council? Seeing and hearing no one, this item will move on. Item number 2, resolution for case F19-02, being the request of Leslie Miller for a final plat of L. Miller First Edition, a 2-lot subdivision located northwest of the intersection of Rockingham Road and south of Howell Street. Anyone from the public would like to comment on this item? Anyone from council? Seeing and hearing no one, this item will move on. And I would ask Alderman Ambrose to set an agenda.
I move all items to the consent agenda.
There's a motion. Is there a second? Second. There's been a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed, same sign? This closes out community development, Your Honor.
Thank you, Alderman Russin and Alderman Ambrose. Our next area will be to be discussed is public safety. Alderman Grip will lead that discussion, and Alderman Dickman will set the agenda.
Thank you, Your Honor. Item number 1 is a first consideration ordinance amending Schedule 7 of Chapter 10.96 entitled No Parking by adding 4th Street along the north side from Ripley Street West to the Scott County Courthouse driveway. Is there anyone from the public who wishes to comment on this item? Anyone from the council? This item will move on. Item number 2 is a resolution closing various streets, lanes, or public grounds on the listed dates to hold outdoor events. Quad Cities Bicycle Club, Quad Cities Criterium, Village of East Davenport, Monday, May 27th, 2019, 5 a.m. to 6 p.m. The closure is Mound Street from East 11th Street to East 12th Street, East 12th Street to Fulton Avenue from Mound Street to Glenwood Avenue, Glenwood Avenue from Fulton Avenue to Hillcrest Avenue, Hillcrest Avenue, East 11th Street from Glenwood Avenue to Mound Street. Is there anyone from the public who wishes to comment on this item? Anyone from the council? This item will move on. Item number 3 is a resolution closing various streets, lanes, or public grounds on the listed dates to hold outdoor events. The City Church, City Egg Hunt, 226 West 3rd Street, Sunday, April 21st, 2019, 9 a.m. to 3:30 p.m. Closure West 3rd Street from Harrison Street to Main Street. There is a motion to suspend the rules and vote on this item later in the agenda. Is there anyone from the public who wishes to comment on this item? Anyone from the council? All right. We'll vote on that later in the meeting. Item number 4 is a motion approving noise variance requests for various events on the listed dates and times. I'll read all 4 of these, and then if there are any comments, I'll ask for the public to come up. Andy Lank, Last Blast, Kilkenny's parking lot, 300 West 3rd Street, Saturday, April 27th, 2019, 8:30 a.m. to 5 p.m. Outdoor music over 50 dBA. William Campbell, 50th birthday party, 2516 Fulton Avenue, Saturday, April 27th, 2019, 4 p.m. to 7:30 p.m. Outdoor music over 50 dBA. Azteca Mexican Restaurant Cinco de Mayo Fiesta, 4811 North Brady Street, Saturday, May 4th, 2019, 5 p.m. to 10 p.m., and Sunday, May 5th, 2019, 1 p.m. to 9 p.m. Outdoor music over 50 dBA. Patrick Quinn, Quinn Wedding Reception, 2102 East 13th Street, Saturday, June 1st, 2019, 6 p.m. to 12 a.m. Outdoor music over 50 dBA. Is there anyone from the public who wishes to comment on any of those 4? Anyone from the council? Those items will move on. Item number 5 is a motion approving beer and liquor license applications. Section A is new license, new owner, temporary permit, temporary outdoor area, location transfer, etc., as noted. Again, I'll read through all of these and then ask for comments at the end if there's a specific one you'd like to speak to. Boozy's Bar and Grill, 114 Half West 3rd Street, ownership update, license type C liquor. Front Street Brewery, 421 West River Drive, outdoor area, May 4th, 2019, Tour de Bru, license type B. Mary's on 2nd, 832 West 2nd Street, outdoor area, May 31st through June 3rd, 2019, Quad City Pride Fest, license type C. River Music Experience, 129 Main Street, 2nd floor, ownership update, license type C. RME Courtyard, 121 West 2nd Street, 6-month new license, outdoor area, license type C. Scott Shovelhead Shed, 220 North Pine Street, ownership update, outdoor area, license type C. Thirsties on 3rd, 2202 West 3rd Street, ownership update, outdoor area, license type C. The Circle Tap, 1345 West Locust Street, ownership update, license type C. Brew in the Village, 1104 Jersey Ridge Road, outdoor area, May 27th, 2019, Criterium event, license type beer wine. Rudy's Tacos, 2214 East 11th Street, outdoor area, May 4th through the 5th, 2019, Cinco de Mayo, and May 27th through the 28th, 2019, Criterium, license type C. QC Dynasty Buffet, 5388 Elmore Circle, license type C. And Quad City Air Show, 9010 Harrison Street, Davenport Airport, outdoor area, June 28th through the 30th, 2019, license type B. Is there anyone from the public who wishes to comment on any of these items? Anyone from the council? Alderman Ambrose.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. First off, I just want to say we're all thankful that the Pride Fest is back down at Mary's and the place has been reconstructed and open, so, back in the West End, great.
Alderman Mattson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just want to say the Pride Fest is back downtown and the air show's back. So 2 good things. Thank you.
All right. Seeing no other comments, we'll move to Section B, annual license renewals. We do not read those. They're in there for your information to review, and then that concludes public safety. I'll ask Alderwoman Dickman.
Mr. Chair?
Yeah.
I have a 19 and 20-year-old exemption. Item C, toward the bottom.
So-
Which
I see it now. Yep. Sorry, it was hidden there, and I even looked. Thank you. Appreciate that. All right. We go to C, which is request for exemptions for 19 and 20-year-olds on premises. We've got River Music Experience, 129 Main Street, 2nd floor, license type C. And RME Courtyard, 121 West 2nd Street, 6-month new license, outdoor area, license type C. Is there anyone from the public who wishes to comment on those 2 items? Anyone from the council? I will now ask Alderwoman Dickman to set the agenda.
I move that items 1, 2, 4, and 5 be placed on consent and that 3 be placed later on the agenda to be voted on.
There's a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Mayor, that concludes public safety this evening.
Thank you, Alderman Grip and Alderman Dickman. Our third area to be discussed this evening is Public Works. Alderman Dunn will lead that discussion, and Alderman Condon will set the agenda.
Thank you, Your Honor. We have 8 items on the Public Works agenda this evening. Item number 1 is a second consideration of an ordinance to change the name of a section of East 60th Street to Duggleby Avenue, located in Eastern Avenue Farms, 5th edition. Is there anyone from the public wishing to address this item? Council? Seeing none, this item will move on. Item number 2 is a resolution approving the plans, specification, and form of contract and estimated cost for the West 46th Street reconstruction from North Pine Street to 215 feet east on Cheyenne Avenue. Is there anyone from the public wishing to address this item? Council. Alderman Mattson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just want to say thanks for getting this on there. Finally, it's a pretty bad road, so we look forward to that improvement, Mr. Schott. Thank you.
Thank you, Alderman Mattson. Anyone else? Seeing none, this item will move on. Item number 3 is a resolution approving the contract for the manhole repair and rehabilitation program construction related to services to Strand Associate Incorporated in the amount not to exceed $399,450. Is there anyone from the public wishing to address this item? Council? Seeing none, this item will move on. Item number 4 is a resolution approving the contract for the Pump Station 203 Generator and Controls Project to Tri-City Electric Company of Iowa of Davenport in the amount of $169,500. Is there anyone from the public wishing to address this item? Council? Seeing none, this item will move on. Item number 5 is a resolution approving the contract for the purchase of hot asphalt oils to Tri-State Asphalt LLC of Morris, Illinois, in the estimated amount of $312,000. Is there anyone from the public wishing to address this item? Council? Seeing none, this item will move on. Item number 6 is a resolution approving the contract for the 2019 nuisance mowing to Reams Property Management LLC of Moline, Illinois. Is there anyone from the public wishing to address this item? Council? Alderwoman McDickman.
Thank you. I just wanted to thank our Neighborhood Services Division for their efforts to contact residents before they just assign a nuisance mowing assignment. That saves us money, and it saves the property owners from having to deal with another hassle of having such things as that. So I think that's another example where new ideas to try to reach out and work with the community has gone well. Thank you.
Thank you. Alderman Ambrose.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Do we have someone from staff to explain what will trigger a nuisance mowing?
Hi, Nicole Gleason, Public Works. Rich is in Disney World, lucky him. But basically, if our ordinance reads that if grass is longer than 9 inches, the city can abate the grass, and this includes like scrub vegetation around homes and things like that. Basically, just trying to make sure that things stay safe, and also that kind of grass can initiate pests and things like that.
Nicole, what happens if it's a habitual problem?
If it's a habitual problem, we generally just immediately send out the mowing crew. And then also whenever we do get a complaint on a block, we will address all issues on that block. We don't just, we do complaints and proactive both.
And what's the average cost of the crew going out and cutting the grass?
So what we charge is our exact fee from the nuisance mowing contract, which I believe in this case is around $60 plus administrative fees. So it generally ends up being a bill of around $110.
All right. Thanks, Nicole.
Welcome. Yep.
Thanks, Nicole. Thank you, Alderman Ambrose. Anyone else? Seeing no one, this item will move on. Item number 7 is a resolution awarding a contract to the lowest responsive and responsible vendors for the provision of street materials. Is there anyone from the public wishing to address this item? Council? Seeing none, this item will move on. Item number 8 is a resolution accepting the Jersey Ridge Road Lane Widening Phase 1 project. Is there anyone from the public wishing to address this item? Council? Seeing none, this item will move on. I will ask Alderman Condon, will you set the agenda, please?
I move to put all items on consent.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor? Any opposed, same sign. That concludes Public Works. Your Honor.
Thank you, Alderman Dunn and Alderman Condon. Our last area to be discussed is finance. Alderman Mattson will lead the discussion. Alderman Klool will set the agenda.
Thank you, Your Honor. I open finance discussion. Item number 1, a resolution setting a public hearing to amend the FY 2019 operating capital improvement budgets. Is there anyone from the public that would like to speak on this? I'll ask quickly, Mr. Wright, if you just give a quick summary of the changes.
We're still preparing the final documents for that, so this is just setting the public hearing that will occur in May, the latter half of May. So we'll have all those documents prepared for the City Council and for the public well in advance of that meeting.
Outstanding. Thank you. Council. Very good. Your lights down. Number 2, resolution setting a public hearing on the new issuance of not to exceed $51,225,000 general obligation corporate and refunding bonds, Series 2020. Anyone from the public? Council. Very good. Item 3, resolution relating to financing of certain proposed projects to be undertaken by the City of Davenport, Iowa, establishing compliance with reimbursement bond regulations under the Internal Revenue Code. Anyone from the public like to speak? Council. Very good. Item 4, resolution approving an art collection service agreement between the City of Davenport, Figge Art Museum, and the Quad Cities Cultural and Educational Supporting Trust. Anyone from the public like to talk about this? Yes, sir, Mr. Schiffer, please. Name and address.
I'm Tim Schiffer. I'm Executive Director of the Figge Art Museum. I live at 301 East 2nd Street. And I want to thank the staff, especially Brandon and the mayor, for their help in putting together this agreement, which mirrors the Putnam Museum agreement, but also covers the care of the city's art collection of about 4,000 pieces of art, which began with the former mayor, Mr. Fickey, in 1925. And we are responsible for caring for and exhibiting that collection, which is really quite well known. This week we're actually sending a painting from the Spanish colonial collection to San Diego for a major exhibition on Spanish colonial art that's going to go to Monterrey, Mexico. And this agreement extends the agreement that was put into place when the Figge opened in 2005. So we appreciate your consideration of renewing it or extending it. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Anyone else from the public? Seeing none. Council, I see Alderman Grip.
Thank you, Alderman Mattson. So I'd like to just speak out in favor of this. The Putnam agreement and the Figge agreement were council goals that we've had the last couple of years with the goal of long-term sustainability of our major cultural institutions in the city of Davenport. And if this is passed, we will have successfully come to agreements on making sure that both the Figge and the Putnam are going to be here for decades into the future, serving the people of Davenport. And it's important to note that the key to this agreement is that everyone has skin in the game. This isn't Davenport paying for our museums. This isn't the Figge out on its own, as museums don't typically do, trying to fund itself entirely off of its own revenue. And there are people from the public who have come to the table. The Quad City Cultural Trust, with both the Putnam and the Figge, have agreed that they are out raising money, and that money that is being raised in a regional effort to make sure that all of the Quad Cities continue to have these great cultural institutions. They will continue to help fund both the Figge and the Putnam. And then also, fiscally responsible. Brandon always does a great job of making sure that the city is well represented on the finance side, and these terms help us. They're scaled to our future increases in hotel motel tax revenue. So we know what those projections are. We know what's coming off the books and what's going on, and this isn't going to cause us financial troubles down the road, unforeseen circumstances notwithstanding. So. Thank you.
Alderman Kluel.
I had my button pushed before Councilmember Grip started his talk, and there's not much more to say, I suppose. Very appreciative of what's happened here. I guess just a note that the same organization that led the Figge to hire Mr. Schiffer is the same organization that we're using for our hire at the Putnam. So if that says anything, I think we'll be in good shape. It's just interesting to note that in 1925, when the city's art collection first was stored in the Art Museum, I stopped to think about that today, and I said, there were a lot of things going on in the Roaring '20s. Probably one of the least important things that people were thinking about is culture and the arts. But I think it was the person that was sitting in the mayor's chair at that time who said, yes, we're going to do this. Funded with taxpayer funding. And I don't know how many cities had that kind of foresight, but I'm proud to be a member of this council, a resident of the city of Davenport, for having that kind of forethought. And we have honored that legacy, I think, by the collaborative agreement between the Quad City Trust, the Figge, and the city of Davenport. So I'm proud to say that.
Alderman Ambrose.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yeah, there is more to say. First off, I want to thank Dee Bremer for her leadership, because in the last few years there's been significant changes in the direction the Figge has gone, and no one loves the arts and the Figge and the Davenport Art Collection more than Dee Bremer, so thanks, Dee.
Mayor.
Yeah, thank you. I just wanted to add one other item, and that is that, Alderman Grip mentioned it about the fiscal responsibility of locking in these agreements, coming, again, a joint understanding of where the future lies. We didn't have that probably 2 years ago as a group for a lot of our initiatives. So now we have basic agreements now for the Figge and the Putnam, Quad City First, and we're working on one with Visit Quad Cities. All of those in place, getting those set up, lets everybody in the community know that we're committed to those, but also it shares responsibility from the various organizations. So I want to thank my colleagues also for their involvement in all of this, because it does make a difference. We send a strong message, but we realize it's a partnership, and that's what all of my colleagues ask. Let's make sure everyone's involved in this process, and that's on all of these. So thank you, and thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mayor. And I'll just add a few words. A few years ago, we and the Figge partnered with the Flood in Iowa City and took on the University of Iowa art, and that was really a big deal. So we in the last few years have worked really strongly with partners to work together for interests in the cultural and history areas. This council and many people and myself really appreciate all the work that many folks around here are doing, and many of you have been mentioned already, to get the cultural and history interests. And Ms. McGinnis is always an advocate on that, to make that an important part of the Quad Cities and Davenport. And so appreciate, and then add that with fiscal responsibility that Mr. Wright puts in the pie. That's a big deal. So again, as some of my colleagues have already said, we used to try and do everything ourselves, but now it's such a great thing that we have partners in paying for these things, because culture and history is very important. So thank you. All right. Number 5, a resolution approving a letter of agreement with Main Street, Iowa, providing for the completion of certain capital improvement projects at Modern Woodman Park. Is there anyone from the public that would like to talk? Please name and address, Mr. Gilmore.
Hi, Dale Gilmore, 6th Ward. The math here just simply doesn't add up. Let's just take FY 2019 for example. Per our contract, the city contributes $375,000, right now $375 to the CIF and $45,000 to the SIF. That's Stadium Improvement Fund. Now, when I add these two numbers together, the $375 and the $45, my total comes to $420,000, right? Now let's look at his proposed expenditures for FY 2019. He proposes replacement of the electronic scoreboard at an estimated cost of $250,000. A ribbon board replacement at an estimated cost of $250,000, and a sound system replacement at an estimated cost of $35,000. Now let's add those numbers up. 250 plus 250 plus 35 equals $535,000. Now when I went to school, $535,000 was greater than $420,000. $115,000 to be exact. So he's proposing an advance on his allowance of $115,000 just for this coming year. Future years are even worse. The generator replacement scheduled for FY 2024 will use $250,000, the $250,000 that he gets from the CIF, and also commits the city to an additional $250,000 from our CIP budget. I wasn't aware we had an extra $250,000 laying around that we had nothing to do with. These expenditures do not account for any additional repairs that may be needed. What did it cost the last time we replaced the roof? And how long ago was that? And how does the Party Plaza shade covering at an estimated cost of $375,000 really add to the value of our facility? Can anyone, please explain to me what a $375,000 Party Plaza shade covering has to do with baseball? I realize this improvement will put additional dollars into Mr. Heller's pocket, but none in ours. One of you should move to table this. Take a couple of weeks to really understand and crunch the numbers. The numbers I was given don't add up. What's the hurry? I'm beginning to understand how our facility was voted one of the best minor league amusement parks in the country. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else from the public? Seeing none. Council. Alderman Ambrose.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. First off, we're very fortunate to have the #1 minor league stadium and the #1 minor league ball team in the country. And it's our stadium. We got a great owner, and I don't know anybody that hasn't had their family down at this stadium, and it's an incredible facility, and the atmosphere is incredible. And in order to keep it the #1, you have to make an investment. So I support it completely, and I can't wait till the stadium gets going again and our team's back in there.
Thank you. Council, anyone else? I'll say a few things. Previously, we have struggled, and again, to Mr. Wright's work in discussions with Mr. Heller. We had struggled to get some of our maintenance items done, and as we do in the city or anywhere else, we can have nice shiny objects, but if the basic stuff is not being taken care of, then it's a concern. So we now have, as we've talked about a few times tonight on other items, a partnership to work together to facilitate fixing some of the maintenance items, the things that actually mean stuff to people when they go to the ball game. I agree it's a great park, but we got to make sure that's done. So now we have that. We have an agreement with Main Street and Mr. Heller for him to, when he asks for big things like a new scoreboard, that he will pay for half of it. And then we will partner with him. And then Ms. Gleason and Public Works can get some of their projects for maintenance done. So it's a start. It's an initial progress to something we haven't had, where they could just do what they want, and we had an agreement to give them money. Now, yes, Mr. Gilmore, we have still work to do, but we are partnering to get them to facilitate paying for some of the items, and we're getting the maintenance items that are critical to what we need there. So I will support this also. All right. Mr. Condon. Alderman Condon, I apologize.
Thank you. The one thing that I will add is I don't love this contract, but it's good to remind yourself that the deals put together to spark the first flame oftentimes end up looking the worst once you've already realized the success. But the investment that we made in the ballpark has helped anchor a lot of other economic growth in the downtown area. So while I'm happy to have all the this agreement does what it can to shore things up. Still don't love the contract, but I am grateful for the ballpark and the downtown that we have today.
Thank you. Anyone else? Very good. Okay, number 6, resolution approving the purchase of the Axon interview room system from Axon of Scottsdale, Arizona, in the amount of $133,111 and, of course, 86 cents. Anybody from the public? Council. Very good. Item 7, resolution allowing staff to finalize an agreement with Canadian Pacific Railway. Wow. For the property acquisition of the bridges over the railroad at Elm Street and East 13th Street, and then allowing the mayor to execute related documents. I'll just say it's been a long time coming, and some of us thought we'd never see those words put on an agenda. So thank you, Mayor, and everyone else and the staff that has worked on this. Anybody from the public? We actually have something that says Canadian Pacific is going to work with us. That's great. Council? Very good. And then we have, I apologize, Alderman Grip.
Thank you. And I may have missed this yesterday, but was any sort of timeline laid out? Could you explain, please?
So we've been, Nicole Gleason again, we've been in negotiations for quite a while now. Primarily, Brian Schatz's been running those. And as the mayor indicated, we did have representatives here last week that indicated they're very interested in finishing it. And we're really down to just a few minor details as far as flagging days for those reconstructions, as well as kind of the liability transfer of those two bridges. But neither are, I don't think, sticking points that we can't overcome. So we're really hoping to have that agreement finalized sometime next week when council would approve this resolution, and then bring something to you guys to finalize.
So would that put us in this calendar year of being able to start, or are we looking at next year?
It's still next year,
Okay.
because we still would need to apply for different grants to bridge the difference there, no pun intended, and then also get some engineering work done.
Thank you. I just wanted to, that's what I thought. I wanted to be sure, because this is one of those where most of us are getting multiple contacts a week on when is this bridge going to be back open. I need this bridge open.
Yes,
so,
we
all
understand.
right.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you. Alderwoman Rawson.
Thank you, Chair. I was just going to add from yesterday's meeting, and Nicole, you can keep me honest, that some of the numbers that we talked about yesterday was the railroad was going to contribute $1.9 million, with the city taking over both of the bridges. Because both of the bridges are considerable cost to rebuild, the first one that'll be done will be Elm, as Nicole noted, and that probably wouldn't even begin to be started until next year. So I would lower everyone's expectations to the following year for a full, complete build-out, and then hopefully we'll be able to tackle 13th Street, as far as 13th Street will be no funding, because we use all the upfront funding from the railroad for Elm Street. So we'd have to add that into our CIP for 2021. Have money available and hopefully apply for grants for the 13th Street Bridge as well. So that one was probably a time frame of 2022. No, she's kind of making a face at me like, I don't know. But hopefully we'll get them done as soon as we can, because it is very irritating to the neighborhood. But thank you for your work on all of this, Public Works staff.
Mayor.
Yeah, I just want to note also, Alderman Rawson, thank you. Again, we need to make sure we understand expectations here, and that's important to know. But also, as Alderman Mattson said, it's great to see Canadian Pacific signing an agreement and giving us $1.9 million. There wasn't that long ago where that was very outside of our realm of consideration. So there's been a lot of significant progress. It's going to take some time to get it done, but this is a great step forward. So thank you, Alderman Mattson.
Thank you, Mayor. Yes, getting them to give money and conversate, that's a wonderful thing. We'll see how it goes on our CIP. But then anyone else? Very good. So we have some purchases of $10,000 to $50,000. You see there on the agenda. We don't read them. They're for your information and reading enjoyment. So I'll ask Alderman Klool to please recommend a motion for an agenda.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move that all items be moved forward to the consent agenda.
There's a motion and a second for all to go to consent. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Very good. Mayor, back to you.
Thank you, Alderman Mattson and Alderman Klool. We have some other ordinance and resolutions tonight. I would ask a motion for suspension of the rules to vote on one of our following items that we discussed earlier in our agenda.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded for suspension of the rules. Roll call, please.
Rawson.
Yes.
Dickman.
Yes.
Tompkins.
Yes.
Grip.
Yes.
McGinnis.
Yes.
Klool.
Yes.
Mattson.
Yes.
Dunn.
Yes.
Ambrose. Condon.
Yes.
10 yeses, Your Honor.
Thank you very much. And the resolution is for closing various streets, lanes, and public grounds on the listed dates to hold outdoor events, and that's the City Church, City Egg Hunt, 226 West 3rd Street, Sunday, April 21st, 2019, from 9 a.m. until 3:30 p.m. on West 3rd Street from Harrison Street to Main Street. Is there any public with comments on that item? Council? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Roll call, please.
Need a motion and a second.
Oh, I'm sorry. Is there a motion and a second? Thank you. We have a motion and a second. Thank you. There's been a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Dickman.
Yes.
Tompkins.
Yes.
Grip.
Yes.
McGinnis.
Yes.
Klool.
Yes.
Mattson.
Yes.
Dunn.
Yes.
Ambrose. Yes. Condon.
Yes.
And Rawson.
Yes.
10 yeses, Your Honor.
Thank you very much. Next, we would have public with comments. We ask again that you please come up, identify yourself and your address. We ask in this portion to limit your remarks to 5 minutes or less, and we welcome anyone's comments. Someone would like to make public with comments this evening? Okay. Seeing no one, is, I think, or is there someone? Yes, sir. Do you want to come up? I do. Thank you.
Brian Wingert, 2709 West 67th Street. In a city where the schools were just reprimanded for taking zero action on information about black children being disciplined at an alarming rate compared to white children, it is appalling to think the mayor thinks it's okay to bully the Civil Rights Commission. When those children aren't treated correctly after they graduate, where are they supposed to go for help? The mayor's friends at the Civil Rights Commission, or an actual Civil Rights Commission that stands separate from the city itself? The city fails these children during the entire school life. Then when they become adults, they have nobody to take civil rights violations to. I saw a comment on a thread the other day from a misinformed Davenport citizen. It referred to people that use the Civil Rights Commission as just looking to get rich. I don't think they fully understand the concept of the commission, and I don't think you do either. It's to help the people without a voice, the marginalized, by being authoritarian and firing and hiring whoever you want. You're taking that voice away. I looked up each of your calendars for the month of February, and if I'm wrong on somebody, I apologize. I was very disappointed to see that none of you, not one, volunteered or did one thing for Black History Month. That was very, very telling. Yet you're the ones responsible for appointing commissioners on the Civil Rights Commission. You really should all be ashamed of yourselves right now. Your white supremacy keeps boiling to the top, no matter how much you suppress it.
Out
We're
of
all
order.
watching you.
Out of order, Your Honor.
Thank you. Anyone else? Seeing no one, is there a motion to adjourn? All in favor, say aye.
Hi, you might remember me from a previous meeting. My name's Laura Elena Rodriguez. I'm from Moline, actually, but I am a local activist with the Quad Cities DSA and the Quad Cities Intersectional Action Network. I reside in Moline and sometimes I work in Davenport. I'm a queer, single, Latina mom, and my whole family's on the autism spectrum. I have a diagnosis that predicts I'll be needing a cane, walker, or wheelchair sometime over the next decade of my life, barring any miracles for the poor and disenfranchised. Speaking of miracles, as you know, this coming Sunday is Easter Sunday for the Christians among us. And before that, Good Friday, a day on which we reflect on the crucifixion of Christ and all the things that he lived and died for. I've done a little research on you, and I've learned that at least a few of the city council members identify as Christian. So during this holy time, I feel compelled and called to speak truth to power. In Proverbs 31, the Bible says, "Open your mouth for the mute, for the rights of all who are destitute. Open your mouth, defend the rights of the needy." Further, we read in Jeremiah that wicked men are found among our people, like a cage full of birds, so their houses are full of deceit. Therefore they become great and rich. They're sleek, they excel in deeds of wickedness, they do not plead the cause of the oppressed that they may prosper, they do not defend the rights of the marginalized. Then we read what sounds like some good advice to the Christians among you here. Be very careful what you do, for the Lord our God will have no part in unrighteousness or the taking of bribes. I see smirks of contempt on some of your faces, and instead of the shame, instead of that your heart probably really feels, something dysfunctional in you cries out when you hear the word of the Lord here today where you probably least expected it. Well, we know that Jesus' main role on earth was not to comfort, his role was confrontation. He was here to confront the systems that kept people in bondage. So I ask you, those of you who will play dress up this weekend and go to church this coming Sunday, whose authority do you follow? You know what you're doing is wrong. You know that what is done in darkness will be brought to the light. You thought you could abuse your positions and sell us out to the rich like lambs to the slaughter, but what you must have forgotten is that the marginalized have always had a lion in their corner. You are about to hear an almighty roar here on earth as it will be in heaven. I ask you, are you sure you're going to get into heaven when you commit evil deeds to society's most vulnerable, and then you have the nerve to celebrate Easter this weekend? Amen. Are you starting to feel hot? I encourage you then, hypocrites, repent of your sins. Repent does not mean to feel bad. Repent means change. Do some soul searching. Our time on earth is limited, Maria. And people of faith will soon be answering to a much higher authority than the Davenport city government.
Thank you. Is anyone else? Yes, sir.
Good evening. I'm Evan Shank. I live in the 8th Ward. I saw in the paper a couple of days ago about the removal of the 4 people from the Civil Rights Commission, that the reason cited for that was the alleged violations of the open meetings laws, as well as the need to subordinate the Civil Rights Commission to the authority of representative government. And I think that with the mayor leaving office at the end of his term and some of the people on the city council themselves considering stepping up to fill those shoes, as Alderman Ambrose said, who is being represented in this action of clearing the Civil Rights Commission of the people who have opposed the efforts to change it? And these, the siege of the Civil Rights Commission has been going on now for nearly a year, And I think that up to this point, still, again and again and again, and I've been here and talked to you several times about this, I still have not heard who in the community has called out for this reform or for this radical change to the Civil Rights Commission. Why it was necessary to change, and it makes me question why they can't be named. And I happen to believe, my only assumption can be that it's not the people in the city of Davenport, and it's not any particular constituency in the city of Davenport that is being represented, but really only the money power and the power of property in the city of government against the power and the interests of the people who live here. And as people consider running for mayor and how they will campaign and who they will appeal to in the community to vote for them, I'd encourage you guys to think about what is the purpose of being on the council? Why are you here? Why would you want to be mayor? I know that no one wants to run for office so that they can come to these meetings and be yelled at by people like me. I'm sure it's no more pleasant for you right now than it is for me. I'm pretty nervous, but achieving something like what Mayor has done with Canadian Pacific and working with them and other people on the staff of the city to acquire the bridge and acquire the money to make real improvements to the structure of the city and the infrastructure in a way that benefits the people who live here is a laudable purpose to city government. Greasing the skids for the Chamber of Commerce and for Palmer College of Chiropractic, I don't think is.
Out of order. Out of order.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Anyone else would like to speak, please?
Cassandra Irwin, 5th Ward. I, as well, was alarmed by the news that the mayor would be removing the council members, or the commission members, excuse me. I myself, as a former commission member, have seen the same activity on my own commission, and it was just as alarming then as it is now. The difference is now is that we have the most vulnerable of our community who are legally protected by law by this commission, and we're seeing it demolished by those who have no real reason to. And as Laura spoke earlier, people of faith have come against this. I myself am with the Eastern Iowa Atheists, and we have come against this publicly. Myself being an atheist, I understand the pressure and the potential for discrimination, not as much as someone who wears it on their skin as a person of color or someone with a disability, but it is a potential, and it is as easily a potential for every single member of the council. These laws are enshrined not only in our Constitution and our civil rights, but in Iowa state law, and it has been very troubling to see this. And as she said, as Easter comes up, and we all think of these things or spend time with our family, how many people in our family could be affected or should be defended by the council or by the commission? And like the person before me spoke, this council has achieved great things with Sterilite and bringing jobs in, and the Bi-State Commission bringing the bridge here, which is one of the biggest infrastructure projects in the nation right now. The citizens of Davenport have an opportunity to be proud of their council in this moment by rejecting the change to the Civil Rights Commission. And I would just hope that you would do that.
Thank you. Is there anyone else? Yes, ma'am.
My name is Christy Key. I hadn't originally planned to speak, but just speaking as a parent, because I know there's a lot of people more eloquent with the political talk. I just want to speak as a parent that I do my best that I can to protect my children. I have a 7-year-old and a 4-year-old. And as a mama bear, if you will, I want to know that I can be there to have their back when they're having trouble at school, if maybe friends are not so nice to them, if people, just adults are even not nice to them because, I don't know, maybe my son might have long hair, or maybe one child might tan more than my other child, and so he's clearly a person of color, and so maybe somebody might see him as less than his brother, who is more white presenting, if you will. And so I just want to know that as they grow up, and I can only protect them so long, I can only hold them close to me so long and be there for them, that there's going to be other people there that will have their back, because they are not, they're not the most outspoken people yet. They're children, and I'd like to know that one day they will learn to be able to have a voice, to speak up for themselves, to speak up for their rights as human beings living here on this, in this country, on this planet. And my older son is just so proud of where he lives. He's proud of being Mexican. He's proud of being on Earth. He's proud of where he lives. He's proud of having 2 mothers. And he's proud knowing that, you know, each of us have carried each one of them, and he just has all these things he's so proud of. And so I just like to know that there's people that will be able to have his back as he gets older and becomes an adult, and if he has trouble speaking for himself, and just, you know, being able to take care of himself out in the world, that there are going to be the people there to just look after him. So
Thank you.
that's it.
Is there anyone else? Seeing no one, is there a motion? Yes, ma'am. Getting close.
Mary Rourke, 5th Ward, 2623 Sheridan. I just want to, nobody that has spoken on this has offered an ounce of substance, and I just want to express my support for people on the council. And thank you.
Thank you very much. Anyone else? Yes, ma'am.
I appreciate you waiting a few seconds for me. My name is Ann McNellis, and I live in Moline. I have lived 20 years in Davenport, and I may be back. I may be back if there are changes. So first of all, I'd like to start off with understanding, or at least clarifying, what the purpose of the Civil Rights Commission is. Am I correct in understanding that it is there to investigate discrimination complaints against persons who represent a certain race, sex, sexual orientation, disability, color, religion, creed, gender identity, national origin or ancestry within the areas of employment, housing, public education, or credit? Is that correct? That was a question. Is that correct?
Just as a point, it's a listening session for us to get your ideas.
Sure, I do have a
but
few
thank
questions.
you for that. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. So I'd like to address the importance of mirrors in our lives, and mirrors in our organizations and in our governing bodies that influence policies and procedures. And in doing so, they impact citizens' lives. So I guess I'm asking you a few more questions. Do we currently have new commissioners who are mirrors for those with disabilities?
No.
Okay. Do we currently have new commissioners who are not part of the majority race?
No.
Do we currently have commissioners who represent gender identity outside of the traditional binary categories? Okay. And do we currently have commissioners who identify themselves outside of the heterosexual identity? Okay. Do we currently have commissioners that are not white? Okay. Well, 1 out of, 7? I guess that's not bad. Okay. So how do we expect commissioners who have no identification, understanding, and empathy for citizens seeking Civil Rights Commission services to not only adequately, but effectively represent their constituents' complaints? When I hire my staff, I diligently test, I assess, I explore their ability to understand their clients' plight, to empathically attune to them. I even make sure I hire people who are mirrors for those they serve. Serve. And by doing so, I believe strongly that they serve them with the highest integrity and with the deepest level of authentic commitment. So as I look at all of you and the lack of mirrors on our council, I question I really question how much you value mirrors on the commission.
Thank you. Anyone else? Yes, sir.
Something completely different. I'm Bill Handel. I live both in Nashville, Tennessee, and Davenport, Iowa, 4th Ward. And just wanted to talk about the latest riverfront proposal that the Dahlquist Group has put together under the auspices, I believe, of the Downtown Davenport Partnership and the Figge, both of whom I think have to be commended for their expenditure and their drive in reanimating the discussion about the downtown Davenport riverfront. On my way back to Davenport from Nashville last week, I had the distinct pleasure and opportunity to spend about an afternoon at the St. Louis riverfront, and I was I'd been there before, but they've just got through completing, I believe, a $300 million renovation with an underground museum and new parking and a new bridge over their freeway from the downtown. And it pointed to me what a tremendous impact that riverfront development can have on a city. That arch has probably brought billions upon billions of tourist dollars to the city of St. Louis over the last 50-some years. I looked up on Wikipedia. That thing was originally built for $13 million, and they inflated that to 2018 $80 million. So the budget that I see on the Dahlquist proposal of $55 million, it's not up to $80 million, but it's within speaking terms of it, and we're a much smaller city than the St. Louis metropolitan area. So it seems to me we should be looking at, if we play our cards right, a huge impact, but only if it's done right. The quality of the infrastructure on our riverfront is unparalleled. The Centennial Bridge, our ballpark, as Councilman Ambrose and others have pointed out, the Figge, the roller dam, and the Sky Bridge itself, and our south-facing riverfront all need to be used to their highest advantage. And anything that isn't of the highest caliber, I think we need to look around and see, can't we do better? And I'm forgetting the gentleman with the Downtown Commission. But anyway, he gave me the PDFs of the Dahlquist report. I've looked at them this afternoon. I think there's some serious issues on that need to be addressed, including the fact that the restaurant, portion of the building, which is on the riverfront side, the place that would give our bridge somewhere to go to is really only 3,000 square feet, whereas River Vision called for between 15 and, I believe, 45,000 square feet, and that Crook, who presented his proposal 5 years ago, I think he had something close to 80,000 square feet. I think 3,000 is much too small, and I would ask the council to maybe get with the Downtown Partnership and the Figge to see if they can't come up with some alternative things. It's already in the computer. Dahlquist could do that for a very nominal sum before we start casting into stone that design, because you add a much larger building and everything else gets impacted. And we may find we can get something that'll have a much better impact, something that somebody across the world hears about, and they come to Davenport just to see it. And that's not out of the question. I think that ought to be our goal, to design this thing so it'll impact future tourist dollars and future jobs for the future life of our city. Thanks very much.
Thank you very much. Anyone else? Yes, sir. I think.
Hello. I have no idea what ward I'm from. I live on LeClaire Ave. I moved to Davenport not too long ago. To address the issue of there not being much substance that people have come up and spoke, the reason is that there is a lack of transparency, and that is not on the public's fault. That is on the council's fault. And I think that's where a lot of it needs to be addressed. So if there is a lack of substance, it does not rely on the public. The burden of proof is not ours. It is the council's. So, yeah.
Thank you.
My name is Nicole Bribiesco Ledger. I'm one of the Civil Rights Commissioners that was asked. As far as transparency goes, there's a whole lot that the public does not know. It's not reported in the media. As far as the starting back in August, we decided to sign a resolution because we believe one thing, you all believe a different thing. We wanted you to show us that you're right. We would have worked with your 3 commissioners that were appointed if it was shown to us that you were right. The reason I did not meet with the mayor and the couple, I don't even know, council members that were going to meet with me, we wanted a public hearing. We wanted a public meeting. I wasn't going to just me and one other commissioner come meet with a couple of you so it could be private. That's why I failed to respond. And as far as the public information, the information that was requested, I have none. I was repeatedly harassed by Brian Heyer, who we have an attorney. Everything's supposed to go through our attorney. I have numerous emails from Brian Heyer asking for this information and threatening. I was threatened a $2,000 fine if I went into a closed session that we believe we were right, and you all say we were wrong. I'm not going to cave into the threats. That's why I'm here. I'm not a public speaker. This terrifies me to come up here and talk. But we're not going to give in, so I guess we'll see where it goes from here.
Yes, sir.
Hi, my name is Dan Foley. I live in the 4th Ward. I also wanted to comment on the Civil Rights Commission and to kind of build on some things that have already been said. And the Civil Rights Commission serves actual constituents in our community. Those are the people that should be engaged if we're going to make changes to that commission. This process has not been democratic. Democracy is messy by design, and we should be engaging those people more. We should start a big conversation if we want to make changes to this. I think you'll find that these are not the changes that constituency wants to see. Yes. Thank you.
Seeing no one else, is there a second? All in favor say aye. Any opposed, same sign. Adjourn. Hi, how are you? Good to see you again. Yes. Sure, I kind of remember. I've seen you before. Yeah. Yes, that's right.
He's with Augustine.
Okay.
Read the proclamation, I know.
Ours is a listening session. So we're not, we have to